And we're here. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Be the Bank, the very best place on the internet to learn about the secondary mortgage market. I'm Robert Heitha, your host from FIXnotes. I'm really excited to get into today's show where we'll be covering DataTree and specifically their product TotalView, along with a specific case study that we talked about back in week 4, and then an update, a new case study with a similar situation where an investor gets wiped by taxes when they invest in a mortgage note. So this is a very important case study to learn from my mistakes and make sure you don't make those same mistakes yourself. Let's get into it. And of course, this is Be the Bank every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us, guys. Let me get us started here. Turn down the music a little bit. This is episode number 9, folks. Thank you so much for sticking with us for over 2 full months now. This is our first episode in August. And as always, we go over the overview of this industry, the exciting tech that we use to keep this a laptop and a phone business. We're going to go over some acquisition opportunities and actually show you our new system for reviewing notes for sale on FIXnotes.com. And then, of course, case studies. Every week we go over at least 2 case studies and then giveaways. The giveaway as of now is a free consultation call with me, a 15-minute call to talk about your business. So I really want to help you guys out with some advice, either in the note industry specifically, or broader based real estate questions, or even broader than that, business and other general questions you might have for me. So let's get right into it here. This is a quick ad before we start. FIXnotes.com/learn. It's 100% free. If you are a first-time viewer here on this channel, you'll find on FIXnotes.com/learn if I do say so myself, a very well-organized course to get you started in this business. There's a bunch of different modules, a bunch of different subsections. Even within these main modules, there's a bunch of specific, really granular details on case studies and exit strategies and really everything you need to know to get your foot in the door. And then you got to tune into this show on a weekly basis for more of that up-to-date industry knowledge. So industry overview is where we start this show, and the first place you got to go for that is FIXnotes.com/news. So we started, I think maybe 4 weeks ago now, a month ago, we started an industry news aggregator on the FIXnotes website. So if you go to FIXnotes.com/news, you're going to see all of the latest content from Housing Wire and the Mortgage Bankers Association and Zillow and Realtor.com and Adam Data Solutions, Black Knight. There's so many different industry resources that are plugged in on FIXnotes.com/news. We're not going to go over the headlines today, but just at a high level, it looks like pricing in the housing market is holding very strong, primarily due to lower inventory. It seems like there's actually increases in price. There's bidding wars across the country, and the market hasn't really been shook by the COVID-19 pandemic at this point. However, things can change with the government stimulus ending this month. I think there has been some extensions. That's going to definitely play into the next phase of this crisis and how we see forbearances and foreclosures resulting from that. But today, there's a specific industry news that I wanted to highlight, and that is a self-servicing warning for investors who buy loans in Pennsylvania. So I've heard this from multiple sources, from some of my clients' counsel, as well as Kevin Cordell on Facebook. And I asked him permission to share this, and I don't know if he got back to me, but hoping he'll be okay with it. Madison Management is a great company, and you can definitely go to them for your industry servicing needs, your loan servicing needs. And in this case, it's very important. In Pennsylvania, and I'll just read this for you. If you own loans in PA, you'll want to pay close attention to the notice received from one of their attorneys. And I've heard the same from one of our attorneys. Servicing mortgage loans means collecting or remitting payments, or the right to collect or remit payments of principal, interest, tax, insurance, or other payments under a mortgage loan. And the department in Pennsylvania, the government states that because an owner of a loan has the ultimate right to collect money from the borrower, that owner must be licensed as a mortgage servicer. And the department is cases and searching for named plaintiffs that are not licensed entities. Because they hold the records of the servicing licenses and the registered entities, and then of course the public records when foreclosures are filed, they're doing a cross-reference there to make sure that the plaintiffs who are foreclosing, the lenders, are licensed servicers. Apparently, we're going to see a lot more enforcement action there. So if you retain any right to deal directly with a consumer in loss mitigations or discussing payments with the borrower, they are viewing you as a loan servicer. Even if you own the loan and you have a different servicer who's, like Madison Management, for example, carrying out your servicing responsibilities, sending the RESPA letters and the monthly servicing statements and the 1098 interest statements at the end of the year, if you're foreclosing on a Pennsylvania loan, your name, your entity's name in that lawsuit as the plaintiff is going to trigger a review of your status as a loan servicer. There is no such thing as a debt buyer license in Pennsylvania. Various states do it different ways. Some states require a debt buyer license for the lender and a servicing license for the servicer. But in Pennsylvania, there is no debt buyer license. There's a collection agency license, but that only applies to audit deficiencies and other loans and repossessions, whereas the servicing license is going to be required because otherwise it's actually a $10,000 per infraction. Every single loan that is foreclosed upon that is then turned out to not carry those appropriate servicing licenses is going to be hit with a $10,000 per loan fine. So this is a big warning for investors who self-service loans in Pennsylvania. Get an attorney, get a servicer, make sure that you are by the books because they are cracking down on these foreclosures. Now, there is a case to be made for investors who work with borrowers in a way that creates win-win resolutions. If you're not filing foreclosure, you're kind of under the radar here, but it's better to be safe than sorry, and it's very important that you do follow those laws as far as servicing and debt buying licenses. Every state is different, so you really want to make sure that the loans you're buying, you can talk to your attorney or your loan servicer about this, but you want to make sure that the states that you're buying in do not have specific laws like this, specific things that are going to tie you up and get you in trouble down the line. So this is your warning for today's episode. Pennsylvania loans are being cracked down. Now, we always talk about the pricing of the market because that's a really important industry overview agenda item to cover. However, we've been talking about the Q3 pricing for a couple weeks now, and we're not going to get into too much detail on this. We're actually going to rewind up the food chain, up the due diligence waterfall to the very top, which is really the biggest driver of pricing. Is a loan secured or is a loan unsecured? And all that means is that as a lender, you still have the right to foreclose. If it's unsecured, there is no collateral that's supporting your underlying debt. And if it's secured, you do have collateral and you're able to enforce that collateral through the legal process, through foreclosure. So let's zoom in on the top of the waterfall, the due diligence waterfall with the secured versus unsecured breakdown. And in order to do so, we're going to rewind again back to episode number 4, where we went over a specific case study that was unsecured, and I took you through the total view, or not the total view, we're going to show you that next, but I took you through the DataTree, I think they call this like I don't know what they call this, the user login, this is like the main information screen. When you search an address, you can see my mouse now, you can search an address up here, and you get a result screen, and this is one of the best parts about DataTree, is this part of the product is totally free. They will provide you a really great little readout of what's going on with an asset before you even pay for any reports. Now, in order to have a DataTree account, there are minimum monthly or minimum quarterly spends, and you are paying for this essentially if you don't order any reports, you're paying for that minimum monthly spend. However, if you're doing a lot of volume for this type of research, secured versus unsecured, and occasionally using the total view report, it's well worth it. I really like DataTree. It's super easy to use. I actually recommended it to a viewer who commented in a previous episode. The DataTree is a great way to research real estate, research the public records in a dashboard that's super clean and easy to understand. So you'll see right up top this owner. This is the current owner of the property. a potential purchaser to buy this loan, this would immediately disqualify this loan for me. Now, there is some potential here that the owner changed in the public records but has not been fully executed as a tax deed, if it was a tax foreclosure or foreclosure deed. There's possibility that this could be within a redemption period. So you do want to make sure you call Pitt County to see. But if you're reviewing a large portfolio of loans and you want to quickly disqualify a bunch of assets that you're not going to spend that next effort on, I would disqualify this loan. There could be potential here, but it's not going to be as cut and dried as a loan where the owner matches the borrower. So now if we click over here in property data reports, right here, and open that up, you'll see a whole bunch of different potential searches, potential reports you can run. Now, it's pretty interesting because the TotalView report off the shelf is cheaper than the Open Lien report. But as you'll see, the TotalView report actually has Open Lien information on it. So I would highly recommend using the TotalView report over some of these other options because you get more information. And just to highlight a couple of the things on this main dashboard, over here, this is the lot lines, and you can actually click on the neighboring properties to see what the other owners' names are, just in case you wanted to, for example, on a loan you own, find a potential buyer that's located in proximity to the lot. And I say lot because a lot of the assets that I've been working in the last year have been vacant land, and sometimes a neighbor might want to expand their area by acquiring that lot. So this is a really great tool for that. It also gives you a value. This is an AVM, an automated valuation model, calculated potential property value, which isn't necessarily accurate. In this case, the property sold for $131, and they're saying it's worth $243. So although this recent sale is a distressed sale or foreclosure sale of some kind, it's still pretty far off from what DataTree is telling us they think the property is worth. So now what I'm going to do here, now this is just a screenshot, but if I click TotalView report, this is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see. This is the TotalView report for this exact property, and I can even afford to give myself some more space here. Hey guys. So this TotalView report will go down through it and kind of give you the high level, what to understand and what to really look for here. And I'm going to show you another one of these after this because this one is missing some information that you might want to know. You definitely want to know. And you'll find that out very soon. But the first thing you're going to see is the owner name and the mailing address. Obviously, the owner name is not matching the borrower, so this loan is unsecured. But if it was secured, we could also match up the mailing address. And that mailing address would give us an idea whether or not it's an owner-occupied property or if it's non-owner-occupied. Now, this is still needs a lot more research to know if the property is occupied by a tenant, if it's occupied at all, or if it's vacant. But it can at least give us the high level, owner-occupied or not owner-occupied. Next is the value range, which we did see that AVM, which was provided to us for free in the dashboard before we order the TotalView report, which I think costs around $10. And that's depending on your contract. I think $10 is a pretty high number, and that can be brought down with volume. But that market value range is a nice data point that you can use to calculate your equity and your fair market values. Next, we have the property description, which we've censored here just to protect the confidentiality. There's an APN number up here, the parcel number. That's super useful to have because if you wanted to go to the county record and search a property by the APN number, it's a lot more accurate than using the address or the borrower's name. So APN number is great to have. All of these data points I would capture and put into my database, whether that's in a spreadsheet or like I use in Podio. It's very important to grab all of that information when you have it because then you're not going back through this manual effort every time you want to see what the APN number is. It's in your database and it's front and center when you need it. If we scroll through here, we'll see some public records. There's no HOA, that's the association information. There's no homeowners association here. Open liens is totally blank because the new owner foreclosed and took back the property, and now there's no liens. They own it free and clear. Involuntary liens would be not like mortgages that they signed, but mechanics liens and tax liens and liens that were forced upon the property based on a lack of payment of some obligation. Prior loan history is the other actually happened, whether it was a quitclaim deed or a foreclosure deed or a warranty deed. And just a high level there, since I mentioned it, a warranty deed is a deed that transfers a title of a home in a way that's warranted. It's insured in some way by a title company. A quitclaim deed, on the other hand, is a deed that does not have those warrants. It's transferred subject to the existing liens on the property, and there's no warrants, no representations or warrants about whether or not the title is clean. So quitclaim deeds you'll see transferred between like a single person to a married couple, or vice versa, based on a family transfer often, or to an LLC that they own. And then finally, we have tax status on this page. So tax status is really nice because in most cases, it will give us, well, I won't say most cases. I think that this is probably like a 75% hit rate, but it will give us some detail on if there's delinquent taxes. You'll see delinquent year here and tax year, tax area. So we don't have a lot of information on this one. It looks like a lot, but it's not really telling us much. There's no delinquency, and the property tax figure is actually missing. But this is a useful section to look at because if it's a totally tech-enabled county that's providing this information, then you're going to have a really great snapshot of whether or not the taxes are past due without having to go through the county records to find it. And that's really the advantage of DataTree. It gives us a lot of information that we would have otherwise had to go to multiple sources to locate. For example, the county public records office, the county assessor's office, or the sheriff's office for tax foreclosure information. Instead of going to these different places, you're able to go to one place and you pay for it, but you're able to get this all in a really clean, concise readout. And also they include on this last page market trends, which is kind of cool. They're giving us some expected comps, and I think that's the next page. These comps are telling us what other properties have sold for in the area, and this supports or denies your AVM value. And it's nice to have this information in addition to the AVM because it gives you a little bit more control over whether or not you think that value is accurate. I like to use Zillow for comps pretty often, but this, once again, it's a quick and easy way to see everything in one screen. So very useful. I wouldn't put too much weight on the AVM. I would really look to the comps to value a property accurately. Okay, so we're going to keep on this DataTree train, but we're going to talk tech tips because that's the next piece of the total view is DataTree. So we're just going to go through this slide real quick and then get back over to it. So I talk about a lot of different services that we use on a week-to-week basis, and we normally drill down onto one of them. Just at a high level, if you guys have any questions about these, Podio, Pacer, Global Flow, Zapier, Right Signature, Gmail, Zillow, CoreLogic, DataTree, ProTitle, Google Sheets, Excel, of course, and then TransUnion, TLO. Bunch of different software options here, which give us an amazing ability in this business to operate from wherever we are with a laptop and a cell phone. As long as you've got an internet connection and you've got a couple of these services tied together to give you some efficiency and some automation, you're able to run your business very, very lean from anywhere. I have one employee, and that's really all I need at this point. I can definitely scale up, but before I hire more employees, I'm always looking at ways to use Podio and Global Flow and Zapier sometimes and these other services to combine into a more efficient workflow. Before you hire an employee, try to systematize it in a way that's automated, because then when you do hire an employee, they're doing the absolute critical tasks that can't be completed by a computer. So I'd highly recommend looking into automation, and even with Google Sheets. Excel is nice, and I still always use Excel when I'm doing due diligence, but Google Sheets, since it's web connected, gives you a lot more potential for automation. But today we're focusing on DataTree. And DataTree, we've already been talking about. The Total View report, I think, is super good as a dashboard, a real clear picture of everything going on with taxes, local comps, the owner, and then you'll see on this next report, the open liens, which is super important to review because that's going to tell you what's happening in front of your second position lien, or maybe if you're in first position, what's happening behind you. What other liens, what other mortgages does that borrower owe? So we're looking at another one in Alpharetta, Georgia. This market value range is between $367,000 and $605,000. Huge range. We really need to look at the comps to hone that in. And you'll see that there was a market sale in 2008. And that was to our current borrower. So I've redacted that information up here in owner name, but you would match that with the data tape and see that the borrower name matches. The person who owes the money still owns the house. And as we scroll down, we'll see those mortgages that they owe. So they bought it in 2008, but at this point, they've originated, there's one in 2008, the second lien, and then a first lien from 2012. So you'll see right off the bat that these are in the correct order, first on top and then second. Excuse me. This is the first time we've gotten a call during an episode. I'll have to take that when we get off. So what you'll see here is that the second lien was subordinated. And that means that even though it was originated before the first in 2008, they filed a subordination agreement, and the first lien was the one who initiated this, to make sure that the lien position remains the same. So what I'd imagine here is that the borrower borrowed a second position mortgage and a first position mortgage. And at 2008, when they acquired the property, those were purchase money loans. And then later, refinanced the first lien. In 2012, they refinanced the first lien, made sure to subordinate the second so that the lien positions remain the same. And eventually that got assigned in 2014, and then again in 2019. So assignments are really nice to see in this sheet because we can know who currently is in front of us. If we're buying the second lien, we know who's, now it's NationStar. And that's good to know because when you compare it to a credit report, you want to make sure that the trade line matches the amounts, 247,800, the dates, October 16, 2012, and the current lender. Or if this doesn't match, the lender may be outsourcing to a servicer. So that's okay, it might be different. If we go to the next page, hopefully my theory was correct about, yes, previous loan history, 2008, trustee to mortgage, which was released in 2012 with the refinance. So that was a purchase money loan. They bought the home in 2008 along with this first lien and the second lien. And then they eventually refinanced that, which released the first position mortgage, and then subordinated the second to keep it in second position. We'll see some deed transfers here. Tax status, hey, we get a little bit more detail here. Exemption, assessed value. Now we don't have a status. Unfortunately, status is unknown on this one as well. We're 0 for 2. Maybe my 75% assumption on the hit rate here was a little off. But this is nice because it does give you a little bit of information. There's an installment payment of $674. That would be really supported by going back to the county record. So if you go to Johns Creek City County, you'll be able to get a lot more information using the information here, the APN number, the borrower name, or the property address, to pull up the tax assessors. They have their own dashboard, essentially, that tells you when taxes have been paid and if they're delinquent, whether or not they're going to sale or eventually a tax deed. So next we'll get into the comps again. This one has a lot more comps, which I like to see. They said it was worth between like 300 and 600K, and right here I see sold for 454, 535, 638, 430. It does look like we're 400K plus, and you'll see if you look at lot sizes and square footage against the subject, how close these properties compare. Is the comparable actually compare? And you'll see this when you actually order like a BPO, a broker's price opinion on a property, or the full appraisal. You'll see these adjustments based on the size and quality and condition of other homes. So this is like a really rudimentary, high-level version of that. It's not done manually, it's done with the software, the technology. So it's not as accurate as it would be if a real agent was doing this comparable research. But as a no investor, you can do that research yourself, and this is a great place to start. One more page with some nearby listings. These ones actually all sold as well. Actually, there's a couple that haven't sold. You'll see right here, this one does not have a sold for or a sold date, but it is listed as of June of 2020. So that's good to see as well because it will give you the available inventory, the current other assets, the other houses on the market that may be commanding buyers' attention. If you were to list your home, what other homes are out there? And then finally, the market trends. We already kind of went through this. I don't put too much weight in this, but it's nice because it's got some pretty colors and graphs, which I think are a good thing to give you a little bit more picture, a little bit more clarity on a specific geography. All right, so into buying notes. So when you click buy notes on the website, you if you just go through all of these steps, you will be receiving an email from FIXnotes, 2 specific emails, and you got to put in your street address as well because we send you a non-disclosure agreement, and that non-disclosure agreement does need to have an address associated with it. So send in all your details, and you will very shortly, I think it takes about 2 minutes, receive 2 emails from FIXnotes. We'll skip through this. You'll receive 2 emails right away. One, your login details. Now, if you're already a FIXnotes student, if you sign up for the course, you already have login details. So essentially, you're just enhancing your account with this non-disclosure agreement, which gives you more access to content, to assets for sale on the FIXnotes website. So you'll get these 2 emails right away. You'll get the login details, and you'll get the second one, which is the non-disclosure agreement to sign. Once you click through that, it'll take you to Right Signature, where you can sign the non-disclosure agreement. Hi, Mia. Oh no, what's noisy? The audio sounds a little noisy. Maybe I'm yelling too high. Thank you so much for leaving your comment there. I hope I can tone it down a little. Yeah, there's some gaps in my audio mixer. All right, hopefully you can at least understand me. All right, so you sign the non-disclosure agreement, and you get 2 more emails. One, acknowledging the fact that the NDA has been executed, and then shortly after that, in the same minute, in this case, you receive another email that says your membership has changed. So what this does, if we go back to the website, is gives you the course plus inventory access level of your membership. So going to my account, it's a different person now. Going to my account, you can verify that, and then when you click back to buy notes, you'll be given a different window. So this is actually the behind the scenes buy notes for vetted buyers. And while we're at it here, let's take a quick look at the bird cam, because I see a bird. We haven't been able to do this. It's hiding behind the feeder. So it's shaking because it's there. All right, guys. I know we're getting like very scatterbrained here with the 2 phone calls, with the screen share starting automatically, and now with this bird friend who's hiding behind the feeder. But it's been like over a month since we had a good bird watching experience on the show, so I wanted to try to capture something. But there he goes. He's gone. Unfortunately, we missed it. As a quick aside, oh darn it, I have this stinger on. Show's falling apart, guys. As a quick aside, I did see a great blue heron this morning down in the creek. And I tried to go out there with my phone and got a video to show you guys, but it flew away too quick. Those are super skittish. Okay, high level with assets for sale. If you are a vetted buyer, you see this screen. And I'm going to just restart this video so you can see. You will see when you click, first of all, in my account, you'll see course plus inventory access. And when you click buy notes, you will see this page. So this page looks different than what you'll see on the buy notes link as a non-vetted buyer. And if you scroll down, you'll see the instructions on how to make offers, and then you'll see the full data tape along with a link right here to download the data tape. So please reach out if you have any questions about that. I'm sorry that was a little bit confusing. I'll try to clear it up next time. Okay, moving on to case studies, because this is probably the best part of the show when we talk about actual situations, actual accounts that we're working on. And let's get into it. So this first one is what I promised in the title of this show, and also promised you last week, which is a property, a debt that was wiped in a tax foreclosure. So this was a $33,000 property with only $450 of back taxes. We have 32 grand of equity protecting our $7,000 UPB, and the borrower was not paying those taxes because they were deceased. And the taxes were current up until like when they died, and then they became delinquent. There was no heir, there was no probate or anything with the estate in order to pay off those taxes. So they were sold. And taxes are treated differently in every county or every township, really. But in this township, tax foreclosures start by selling a tax certificate. So we received a notice of the tax sale and dropped the ball on the tax payment prior to the notice of the issuance of the tax deed. And due to the deceased borrower, this account was a lot more hands-on than it was anticipated. And that was my bad. Honestly, I didn't put two and two together that this deceased borrower did not have anyone looking out for the property taxes, and really the lender, in first position, my client was where the buck stops. We needed to pay off those taxes to protect our interest in the property, but we didn't. And in many cases, this isn't an issue, because if there's only $300-400 of taxes past due, a borrower is going to pay those because they don't want to lose their property to the tax sale. But super important to scrub your portfolio for deceased borrowers in order to determine whether or not some of those borrowers aren't around to pay off the taxes. So there was plenty of potential in this account that really was my fault for dropping the ball. So let's look at these documents. First, we get the tax sale certificate, and you'll see at the top left, there's only $266 owed at that time, and it was bid to $450. You'll see that at the top, and this was purchased by an investor who basically was buying an option to either get paid by us to pay the taxes off or get the deed to the property. And he won big here. He or she won big because the property was not redeemed, and it went to the next step, which is a notice of tax sale and a right to redeem. So once again, we had another notice to say, hey, you can pay off these taxes, and drop the ball. Then we get this notice of filing, verified petition for issuance of tax deed. So this was really the last straw, which when I called the county just to confirm, they told me, yeah, you missed the deadline to redeem. This property is now being converted to a tax deed, which means the owner of the tax certificate will now own the property. And what's interesting about this is if you look up this account here's the last one, the order for issuance of tax deed. The first one was the notice, and then this one filed July of 2020. This is the last straw that really made it totally impossible to redeem the property at this point. So if you looked at this account on DataTree, because we're talking about DataTree in the TotalView report, you would think it was secured because the owner of the property, the borrower, is still showing. Even though they've passed away, they stopped paying their taxes, they are still the name on public records. So in some cases, even if it looks secured, you need to go back, especially on first position liens, and especially when you have a flag of a deceased borrower, and make sure that the property taxes are current. Lesson learned here. This could have been a pretty good deal because we had equity in our $7,000 balance. Above that $30,000 property value could have been a sale that would have been pretty attractive to, especially because we've only bought $7,000 of debt. We could have done a pretty great deal here. However, due to my failure to not pay off these taxes prior to the issuance of the tax deed, we were not able to come to that positive result. There was no resolution here. And the lesson learned, monitor taxes, especially on deceased borrowers, with utmost care. Because if the borrower's alive, a lot of times these deals are going to be paid off. You don't have to worry about it. But in the case where a borrower is deceased, or with a first position loan when the borrower maybe expects that the first lien is escrowing taxes and insurance, then in that case, they could also drop the ball, expecting the first lien to pay the taxes. So this is one major reason. We talked about this back in episode 5, I think. You can find it in the show title, First versus Second Liens. I really like second liens more because in second position, you're a lot less at risk to lose a property to delinquent taxes. Because not only is the borrower making sure that they don't lose the home, the first lien holder is as well in front of you as the second lien holder. When you're in first position, you got to make sure that you're on top of your game or else you could lose the deal. Now, the reason I dropped the ball here, to make a quick excuse, is that this was a lower balance loan. And we talked about triage last week and how when you have a large portfolio of assets, you do have to treat the most pressing situations first, the higher balance loans, the immediate cases that need your attention right away. And sometimes a smaller balance loan like this falls through the cracks. And that's what happened this time around, and I will assume the responsibility for that. $0 payoff, unfortunately. All right, one more case study here for you. We're going to talk about an investor loan sale. This is a loan that just sold, closed July 31st, I believe, and one of my missed calls was for the purchaser of this loan, so I got to call him back after this show for you. But let's get through it. This was a $688,000 value. The property was worth $688,000 with a senior balance of $350,000. $305,000. The senior lien was current, which leaves us with $382,000 of equity covering our $110,000 balance. Fully covered, over 3 times coverage, 300% equity coverage on this deal. So it's very, very safe. It was originated in 2009. It was a purchase money loan. They acquired the property with the proceeds of this loan. And my client purchased it in late 2019. The senior is current. We have minimal outbound collection campaign. We did offer the borrower a discounted payoff through a letter. They did not respond. Frankly, they may have not even received it. But it was kind of a high offer. We were asking for a discounted payoff of about $100,000 because there's so much equity. There's no way we would be able to offer much more of a discount than that. And then there's an $8,000 down payment plus payment plan option. So either way, they didn't respond to these offers, and the next step was to pursue a demand letter and then go through the foreclosure. And that, in this case, is going to result in some resolution. This borrower clearly has a lot of equity to lose. They would definitely respond once you move through that foreclosure process. But in this case, my client was not prepared to initiate a foreclosure. This was in Pennsylvania, which is like our backyard, but it's not our business to foreclose on a bunch of accounts. We really want to put those accounts with investors who are much better suited to acquire the homes in those areas. This loan was sold as a package deal, so that's part of why the pricing is what it is. We sold it for 40% of the balance, which would be low as a one-off deal, but this was a large package of assets, so it's definitely going to be a better deal. It's another person. I gotta grab all these calls after. I have a 2:30 with them. I don't know why they're calling me now. Sorry, guys. So this did have a substantial amount of equity, and it's nice to highlight this again because we talked about that Pennsylvania self-servicing warning in the beginning of this call today. So Pennsylvania account, make sure you don't file for foreclosure if you don't have the proper licensing in place. That's an investor loan sale for this week, and that about wraps up the show for today. Of course, we got the giveaway. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me if you guys could subscribe because once we get to 100 subscribers, we can change our custom URL on this account. So youtube.com/FIXnotes sounds pretty good. And I'd love to give you guys a consultation call. So please sub, like, comment, send your details over at the NDA form so I can call you on your direct line or email you there. And I'd be happy to get on these calls this week. We haven't had a lot of comments lately, so unfortunately, I don't have any call for you today to share. But that's it for the show. Case studies, giveaways, Be the Bank every single Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Robert Heitha from FIXnotes, and this was a bit of a scatterbrained show in the middle there with all those phone calls, so I do apologize. But in any case, we're happy to be here. I'm always excited to present this show, and I'd love your feedback on other topics you want to cover, questions, comments, leave them below this video. And until next time, watch the birds. Here you go. Nothing's there. Sorry, guys. No birds for you today. Hopefully we'll have some more success next week. All right, everybody, have an awesome Wednesday, and I'll be back 1 p.m. next Wednesday, as always, with another episode of the show. And